to all take part, get involved, some great volunteer opportunities. Certainly have enjoyed mine and found it to be greatly rewarding. Now I want to recognize people for 5 years of service. If you would please come up and receive the appropriate pin recognizing your 5-year service. Patricia Blood, Candace Hickey, I'm not sure any of you are here. Kevin Smith, Amy Carlo, one of you is. Sherry Scales. Okay, it gets better. 10 years service. Nancy Leahy. Nancy, you're among us today. Someone named Mark Parker. I think that's me. Wow. 10 years. That went fast. That went fast. And now, drum roll, 20 years. Scott Palmer in Pendleton. Scott, our thoughts are with you there. 20 years of great, great service to this chapter for sure. Yes. So 20 plus years, Scott Palmer, what a hero. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you, Mark. Now I'd like to introduce Calliope and Chris Anderson, who are coming up, and they're going to introduce our new IDEA Fellows.
I'm Chris Anderson. I'm on the committee, but Calliope is our fearless leader, so I'm going to turn it over to her.
Thank you, Chris. I'm Calliope Glaros. I'm a donor travel consultant with Philanthropy Without Borders. I am also the chair of our chapter's IDEA committee, which is Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access. Demonstrates our commitment to these principles. One of them is through our educational programs, and another is through our inaugural cohort of fellows that we just started this year. This was a long time dream coming, and we're really excited to offer this fellowship program. The program actually sponsors AFP membership both nationally and at the chapter level, as well as allows fellows to attend 6 events a year. And in return, they perform services for our committee. They each serve on various committees within our chapter to help ensure that our programming, our policies, our partnerships, and our communications reflect our commitment to these IDEA principles. It gives me great pleasure to welcome the 4 fellows that were chosen for our 2019-2020 cohort: Derek Cruz of OHSU, Celia Ferrer of the Filipino Americans for Good Governance, Lilia Ongelungal, an independent communications professional, and Rowena Paz Norman of Greater Than. We are so excited to see what these fellows have in store for our chapter in 2020, and thank you so much for your support.
Thank you both. Now we're ready to do my last official duty as president. I am so excited about that. I get to read the 2020 board slate. No, I'm just kidding. It's a great opportunity. Leadership, I recommend anyone becoming a member of AFP, joining our board, joining our committee. It's really great to be on this side. I know we all work with board of directors in our organization, so serving on one has been a pleasure, and I've really enjoyed it, just promoting the cause of philanthropy, research, education, and scholarship. So I'm very pleased to announce, hopefully you've all received an email, 30 days, that's the obligation, 30 days you received an email with the slate. We're doing it as a group. I'm going to read the names and ask if you're here today, if you could just wave your hand. So next year's president will be Catherine Ingvaldson, CFRE from PSU Foundation. Well, this is if you vote on her. Past president, myself, Cynthia Thompson with Big Brothers Big Sisters. President-elect Sherry Lynn Scales, CFRE, Providence Cancer Center. Treasurer Karen Santangelo from Peace Health Foundation. Is Karen here? She's on her way, I believe. Secretary Meg Marshall, Lewis and Clark College. Meg. VP of Membership Jerry Alcock with Rose City Philanthropy. VP of Professional Development, Patricia Brook, PhD with OMSI. VP of Volunteer Engagement, Amy Brown, CFRE, Campbell and Company. Co-VP of Marketing and Communications, Elizabeth Brooke Wilbanks, Friends of the Columbia Gorge. Co-VP of Marketing and Communications, Vivian Cheadle Manning, CFRE, Clark College Foundation. Co-VP of Resource Development is Matt Chase, PCC Foundation. He's not able to join us today. Let's give him a hand. Co-VP of Resource Development, or another co-VP of Resource Development, Brittany Lasiang with YWCA Clark County. It's Brittany's. Yeah, she's on the list, so today she might be running a little late. Parking is terrible, I know. Co-VP Philanthropy Awards, Adam Patterson, PSU Foundation. Yay. Co-VP of Philanthropy Awards, Denise Harrison, OSU Foundation. Technology Chair Josh Aranda, Mission Matters. He was on a call. He was using technology this morning. He's not here. He's in California. Diversity Chair Calliope Glaros with Philanthropy Without Borders. And finally, Scholarship Chair Lauren Cox with Dove Lewis. Yay! So I believe I have to do a motion. Do I have a motion to approve this slate? Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor? Say aye. Any opposed? Great, we have a new slate of board members, 2020. Thank you. There's something else I needed to do. I'm terrible. So now I'm excited to hand off the leadership to our new chapter president, Catherine Ingfeldson, PSU Foundation, newly minted president.
Thank you so much, Cynthia. And I want to say that we really appreciated having you as our leader this year. You helped us forge new relationships, new sponsorships. You encouraged us to be creative in how we do what we do, solidifying the work in the community, and we truly appreciate you. Now, Amy Brown.
I get the honor of passing a wonderful gift on behalf of our whole chapter to Cynthia for her leadership. As past president, I know what it's like, and I know the long hours that you put in for this, but I also know how rewarding it is. And so, Cynthia, on behalf of our chapter, we have this lovely memento. And a box of chocolates.
Oh, that's what I need. Yes, I need that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're not going anywhere.
No, thank you. Past president, thank you.
Both of them are going to stick around, so that makes my job so much easier. But having a great board makes this job so much easier, too, because we have a really motivated, powerful board who are really engaged, and we want to encourage anybody else who's interested, has creative ideas, that wants to get involved. Oh, can you hear? Please let us know, because we always love getting you engaged and knowing what you're thinking and what works for you so that we can really deliver on that membership promise. This year, we're going to continue that work with the great board that you just heard. We're going to deepen existing partnerships. We're going to expand the use of the great resources that we've developed over the last few years. And as we engage you, please know that you're all welcome to share your ideas and your time. We love to have your engagement. Exciting programming, trying some new things. We know we tried some new things out this year meeting-wise, and we've been talking about what seems to work best as far as location and timing. So we've got some great things coming. And I just want to say I'm really excited to be working with all of you, and it really, many hands make light work, and we've got some really great talented people involved. So I would like to also ask Amy to come back up because she had an opportunity to share with you.
One of the beauties of AFP is that you get to work with some phenomenal colleagues to really support our profession and what we do and all the important work of our staff and volunteers and communities at large. And so this year I get the honor of being the VP of of volunteer engagement. And one of my initial asks or invitations to you is if there are any of you that would like to get involved. We have a couple of board positions that are available, an education position for basically helping us with either the Fundamentals of Philanthropy or CFRE prep course if you're interested in helping us coordinate that. We have that option, and we also have a marketing and communications opportunity. So if you have any great skills in that arena, especially if you're really good with social media, we love that. Please let me know. And then there's just so many other volunteer opportunities on committees, everything from helping out with our National Philanthropy Day, which is our signature event. I know many of you went to that. Phenomenal co-chairs that we have with Adam and Denise coming up, so I know they would love to have volunteers. Membership, professional development. There's just so many incredible ways to engage with AFP, and that is what keeps us coming back. I actually was terming off, but I couldn't leave because I love these guys. So please join us. If you are interested, feel free to contact me and I will help you find the right place.
Thank you. Okay, well, I am excited to introduce Jerry Alcock, who will tell you a little bit about our program and our honored presenter today.
Thank you, Terry. I love it when it's short. And I want to thank all of you for being here today and taking time out of your very busy end-of-year fundraising activities, writing thank you letters. You are writing thank you letters? Please write thank you letters. There are two parts to today. First part is going to be a presentation that Ben Miller and I did at the International Conference in San Antonio. And this is a sort of broad stroke of what the Fundraising Effectiveness Program is all about and what kind of results did we have in 2018 compared with 2017 and a little with 2016 in terms of as we are tracking. This is a very large database. I now understand what big data is. Big data is 10,640 nonprofit organizations' data, approximately 170 million gift transactions worth $68 billion. That's pretty big. The second part of today will be more focused on more direct application and what have we learned about the impact of the Tax Act. So we have 2019 data through September 30. We will have the end of the year data available hopefully by the International Conference in Baltimore. Did I say that right for those East Coasters? Baltimore? Okay. And also I want to introduce you to something absolutely new, the newest project that we have undertaken as part of the Fundraising Effectiveness Program. So Sam has got me ready to go here. All right, please hold your questions until we finish this session, and we'll have another session, and we'll have questions after that. Fair enough. All right. Oh, you love technology when it works. All right, the project itself, we're going to give you some introduction to how do we collect all of this data, who's involved, something about where we are in terms of the completed 2018. Every 3 years, we do a more extended donor supplement, a donor relations supplement. And we're going to be doing one of those in 2019 for the 16, 17, 18 period. We have information complete in terms of we gather the information monthly and we summarize it quarterly. And I sent ahead not only the sessions but also the news release that accompanied the third quarter 2019 results, which you have available. I suggest you have a look at that in terms of what is it continuing to say about what is the impact of the Tax Act. And so that there's no mystery here, we're losing donors. Okay, we're losing lots of donors, and they're taking their money with them. And to what extent is this stable, or to what extent is it become serious? It's estimated that it's approximately a loss from 18 to 19 of $20 billion because of the decrease in donor participation. We're going to look at all of that. I want to introduce you and invite you to participate in the Fundraising Fitness Test, where you can get your own data evaluated and sent back to you, and then you can compare your data with our national data. And that'll give you some sense of where are you in your own program, but also how do you sort of compare to these more national guidelines. It's going to tell you a lot, and I'm going to show you a lot of it. We have lots of numbers, and I've got 7 tables just to break out some of the details. So you ready for a kind of a fast ride? This program, the 10,640 organizations, the data comes from 3 principal service, the people you use: Bloomerang, Donor Perfect, Neon One. How many of you have those guys as your data program? Really? That's interesting. All right, whatever program you have, let's say it's FundMaster. I still call them FundMaster, not Razor's Edge. How many of you have Bloomerang's Razor's Edge? What the heck are you people using to keep track of what you're doing? Salesforce. All right. Every month, these 3 firms provide us with anonymized data, 3 categories: a donor identification number, a gift amount, and date of gift. That's all that's collected. Just 3 things. Once we get it, we anonymize the donor ID number into a 9-digit separate number. So we have no idea who the people are. That's not the issue. But we protect the anonymity of our donor sources. By the way, did you know you could be anonymized? Okay. Clearview does also provide us with data at the end of each year. They're looking at doing it monthly, and we would appreciate their data being entered. We have 2 other participants: Data Lake, which is our principal data collector and massager, and getting it all in the format from those 3 entities, and Donor Trends, which is where we do our analysis and other kinds of analytic measurement. We have a lot of folks that believe in what we're doing and support us. And we have a lot of activities. The annual survey, which we do, and I'm going to share the 2018 results. The fitness test, which allows you to get your own data to compare and to measure not only your own performance, but how you relate to the rest of the world. The quarterly reports, the retention supplement, Giving USA. We did a spotlight report a couple years ago on human service organizations. They represent about 35% of the total 501c3 group. Their performance is very steady over a 10-year period. They don't jump up a whole lot or down. But if we think about it, they're not in the billion-dollar capital campaigns. Human service organizations are basically annualized, kinds of steady, salt-of-the-earth organizations. But it was interesting in the study that they are consistent over time, very steady. They don't grow a whole lot, but they do grow. They do grow. A lot of us, I worked in hospitals, it's an up and down ride. You're in a campaign, you're out of the campaign. You're in the next campaign. The research that we do is also shared through the National Academic Research Meetings, our NOVA, We have a glossary of terms so everybody speaks the same language, which isn't easy. And all of the data is kept by AFP on the cloud somewhere. So, there's a lot going on. Growth in giving, 2017 to 2018, a little bit. Now, how much does Giving USA report that it grows per year? 3%, 5% the last couple of years. 2018, they estimate after adjusted for inflation, minus 1.7%. 1% of 427 million is real money. So another way of looking at this is $100, every $100 gain was offset by $93 in losses. Anybody here have a degree in math? I may need help. Donors, minus 2%, or almost 3%. Growth in donors, that's just acquiring new donors and then measuring that against keeping all the donors you've had. And that's what the detail that we really are interested in. So for every $100 donors, every 100 donors, we've lost 105. Now, this doesn't work year after year after year after year. This is unsustainable. But each of us has the responsibility for our own donors and their relationship with our institution. And what are we doing to preserve that? Overall donor retention, 43%. Do the math. 57% of your donors last year, or of these donors, didn't give again. 57% didn't give again. What's your data? What is it that your own organization is experiencing? The supplement, as I mentioned, goes back several years. In 2008 was 50%, and the last supplement in 2016 reported it went down to 46. How about new donors who continue? You spend a lot of time acquiring donors, and only 23% of them give a second time. What's your data say you're doing? How's your performance? Went from 30% down to the 23%. So a decline of 21% in new donor retention. Again, what can we do to keep them? We spend a lot of time and money getting them. How about your existing donors? 6 out of 10 continue. You lost 40% of your best friends. Who are those people? And I want to get into how much did they give and how much money did we lose when they walked away. We also have the ability to break down our data by giving levels, 5 giving levels. Under 100, 100 to 250, 250 to 1,000, 1,000 to 5, and 5 and above. That gives us a pretty good cross-section of the behaviors. We're going to look at that in detail. So the repeat donors, 52% are giving under $100. Only 18% of new donors continued, even at that level, under $100. It gets better at 100 to 250. At 250 and above, 76% of your existing donors continue. That's encouraging. 48% of your brand new donors at that level continued. Those are good new people. Want to get to know them, don't we? What would a value of a retention of 1% mean to your organization? Let's see. Well, the little red dot doesn't work. Pick the one in the middle where it's 1 million to 1.5. It would be worth $20,000 if your overall donor retention base went up 1%. 1%. All right. What did 2018 show us? 20% new donor retention. We spent a lot of time. We lost 80% of them. What can we do to fix that leaky bucket? Repeat donors, 61, a little better than the prior several years, but still lost 39%. Lapsed reactivation. These are people that we all know about lapsed Libunts and Pibunts. they're a lot better prospect. We've been telling you, a lot better prospect than brand new never gave. But only 4% reactivated. So what I like the term is recapture. What's your effort to recapture your prior year's donors who know who you are, have invested in you in the past, know something about new donor acquisition falling off in 2018. Minus 7%. Donor retention data, donor acquisition data, losses, gains and losses, numbers of donors, amount of gifts spread over giving levels, so 5 giving levels. The second one here is an illustration of a 6-year profile. If you have data that goes back a few years, 4, 3, 5, 6, this will give you a good display. That is recognition levels and the benefits and privileges that we invent to go with them as an incentive for individuals by reason of the fact we have their gift history and we can determine their qualification potential. By the way, you can probably only do that once to them. But anyway, that's right. Yes. Yeah, we are seeing that. We're tracking multi-year. We're trying to basically suggest to you at your organization through your fitness test, you have the information right there of the history of your donor and how to find an Excel program that'll tease it out of your own data. That's one of the, we don't have quite, we have some history, the multi-years, the 6 years. If you have 6 years of data, we can pull some of that together. We can also do analysis on monthly donors now because we see the periodic repeats. So that's one donor, or is it 10 donors in terms of 10 months of giving? Sorting that out and being clean about it. We hope to get there. Thank you for that question. Yes? The observation is if we continue to focus more of our time and energy on the largest gifts or larger gifts, over time, isn't that a strategy? And we've been advising people and telling people to do this for the last 20 years. And so it may be a self-fulfilling process. That the reality is, how do you define a major gift prospect? By gift range? And is $250 to $1,000 for your organization kind of a big gift? Or does it have to be $10,000 and above to qualify? At my hospital, it was 25 in terms of how we managed the whole relationship differently. But we had tons of people who bought tickets and made annual gifts and did other things under 25. But part of what we were tracking also was history. The cumulative gift value of each donor was a tool that we found. We do see, and I think all of us have seen donors grow in terms of how much they give. And we even asked them, thank you for your annual gift of $250 in our special campaign this year. Could you possibly add to that for the campaign as an additional gift? and that comes through the data as an upgrade. Okay? So we're working, but we're not able to tell right now because we don't have the individual history. We're trying to establish formulas that will allow us to document lifetime value. It's an elusive figure. Yes, hi.
Question about retention. I'm from Tillamook, very rural county. It has I think we're in the top 3 for the most folks who live there that are age 55 and older. So for me, what number am I chasing for retention, given that approximately 20% of people are in that death range anyway, and those aren't renewable. So I
Careful with your language.
So what, what am I chasing at? It's a little bit like the unemployment number, because there's a certain number of the population that is not going to be in the employment statistics
Right.
for very good reasons. With retention, there are a certain number of my donors who aren't going to give because they're not there to give anymore.
I live in a retirement community these days, and I'm part of that generation which was ahead of the baby boomers. They've been nipping at our heels forever. And the boomers have always been less involved, as we've understood it, and not as generous as my generation, shall we call it. What's behind them is my kids and how they perform. And what's behind them are my grandkids. And we've learned that the demographics are important for us to understand, because people are behaving differently by reason of their age group. So in your instance, you've got a lot of people in a certain age group. You at least understand that. You know, you're not appealing to millennials and Gen Xers. And you probably still have some of us senior citizens, maturing adults. So part of it is understanding your own demographic and what your organization appeals to. If you're in the healthcare business, people in that age group are much more interested in you than ever before. But if you're in the elementary education business, not so much. Not so much. Now, you're part of a healthcare system. I used to say, I don't say it in public, sooner or later, we're going to get you. And when that happens, you want us to be very expert at everything associated with your problem. And that's our deal. That's our promise. You help us, we'll help you. Because I can't tell you your age profile. But you can look at your own data and probably see where your averages are in terms of various categories. How's your retention doing? How's your lapsed donor recovery doing? And how much time and energy are you spending on acquiring some of these people in that age group as new first-time donors? And can you keep them for 3 years? Because after that, they're likely to stay with you 5 to 7. Any other questions? Break time. Sam, you got to set me up with number 2.
I do too. I'm neurosciences. Yeah. Yes. Right. So it all gets the same attention. I bet. I bet. Oh my goodness. Wow. Now, is that where you live? Are you in Southern California? Okay. That's a charming area. I really like it. Yeah. Okay.
I know. I'm not doing it. Yeah. Sorry,
Oh, so you're in the Portland area. Okay. Okay. Good for you. Oh boy. Good for you. Well, it's lovely to talk to you, Jim. Yeah. Yeah. I really like it. Yeah. I hope to be down there someday myself. We have children in school though, so we'll have to wait until they're all graduated and off to college before we can do that. They found you. Doesn't take them long, right? They want to know where to go for Christmas. Oh wow, that's fun. Good, good. All right, I'll let you go.
You've heard that, right? That's in Oregon. Yeah, yeah, really. Emily and I she also remembers stories. So it's yeah, so it's very good.
Go for it.
I'm going to try something I learned with the Girl Scouts. It's amazing how this does actually work. Yes. We had 3 daughters. I learned a lot from the Girl Scouts. Thank you, and thank you to those of you who decided to stay. I'm kind of surprised. Not really. Not really. I mean, what do you got to do this afternoon? It's Friday afternoon. You're going to go back and write some more thank you letters, right? Right. Okay, this is a little bit of a review so that we have the data from 2018 before we look at 19 and see the difference. But we have some other data, and then I've got a sort of a big announcement at the back end of this. All right. We've already looked at 2018 versus 17 as a beginning, looking at what the impact of the tax cuts. You have now seen that fundraising effectiveness allows you to measure what you do and the results you have in multiple ways that are very helpful. The fitness test is the key for you to learn your own, and so you can then look at what everybody else is experiencing in terms of 18 and 19 and make your own plans. And then in your future, after we go through the 2019 results so far, is something new called FEP-ABM/FNA. And you're going to learn to love all of that. All right, what do we know? Doubling the standard deduction limited the value of itemized deductions. How many of us in doing our taxes in 2018 saw what we did differently? I would have had to give more than 2.5 times in order to reach a level of qualification of charitable gifts for deduction purposes using long form. And so my tax advisor said, we're going to take the standard deduction and we're done. So all of that good record keeping I made of tracking all those gifts, the real ones, the supposed ones, the ones my wife didn't tell me about, whatever, and it no longer is necessary because it doesn't count. And what's the impact of that? And we have some indicators. So people who used to itemize, now that they realize there isn't the sort of favorable value of keeping track or even trying to use it. Now, what people who, there was a question earlier about donor advised funds, what people who do that claim as a tax deduction is in that year a very nice large gift. And we've seen some indication that the following year they don't make a similar gift. They just sort of loaded it up in the front end. And then they didn't spend any money out of that advised fund to charity. And the billions of dollars that are tied up there is a concern. An estimated 88% of taxpayers will use 1040 EZ. 88%. That means 12% of our constituency may track their gifts, etc. What's it going to take? So we've got some indications of what's going on. Congress has its Joint Committee on Taxation. It's estimated that about 28 million people from 46 million down to 18 million is a 61% drop of taxpayers who will itemize and file standard deductions. 12%. That matches up with the 88% who will not. The 12% will still itemize. The AEI predicted in June of last year, 27 million tax filers will switch from itemizing to taking the standard deduction. The consequence of this will reduce charitable giving by 17 billion, 4% in 2018, according to a static model of, and 16 billion assuming even a modest growth. They estimate that 4/5 of the decline is a result of this change in the standard deduction. So it's here, it's real, we're seeing it, there's no question. So what else have we learned? Well, we had a lot of talk about this in San Antonio. Numerous sessions addressing it as best they can, trying to help us all understand it. We have our own reports that kind of verify it. We have the year-end 18, and we've got 3/4 of 19 to look at. You'll remember that giving between 17 and 18 was a marginal 1.5%. Giving USA reported a decline after adjusting for inflation. Our growth in donors didn't. You've seen this figure earlier. and that's the 100 donors gained, 105 lost through attrition. Overall retention in between just 17 and 18 was 44%, which meant 56% didn't give. And it's not going the other way. Since 2008 to 2018, which is longer than the 2016 donor retention supplement, is lost 6%. So what I like to do is try to say, okay, what does all this mean to you? For example, how are your activities performing yourself? What have you seen as changes or differences? If you're able to track it, are each of your solicitation programs growing in terms of revenue? Is it growing or shrinking in terms of donors? Your fitness test will tell you, but what do you know now? And you want to compare your results with our treasure trove of donor data. The fitness test is your avenue. So we've seen the 5 giving levels, we've seen all the categories. And again, I suggest you need to spend the time, get your IT person to help you to submit your data and get the reports, and then begin to understand what it tells you, and you've got a comparative sort of guideline with the national data. Those are the same two. That's the same 9 billion, the 3 commas, and the multiple year minus 22%, and how we got that. Okay. What would yours look like, do you think? Or do you have a clue? You know, how you're doing growing your program. The national data suggests we're shrinking. So what is it that your organization really wants to know about your performance, and what is it that you really want to know about your performance? Where's the emphasis? Dollars. Right, how much did you raise? Was anybody tracking or interested in how many donors participated? Okay. How about net revenue? That's the discussion I have with my CFO. Okay, here's your budget. Tell me how much I'm going to get. What's going to be the net revenue we spend on the programs and services? Is that a figure that's your bogey? Is it focused on major gifts, as we heard earlier in one of the questions? A lot of emphasis on major gifts. And what is that doing overall to your program? Anybody still having discussions about how much it costs to raise money? Your fundraising costs? Right. And what does that tell you about how your program is performing? Okay. Is there a lack of focus and support from your board and CEO? I'm just going to move right past that one. Right, that's the one chief, every time we survey the AFP members, that's the one chief problem that most of us feel we don't have adequate understanding and support from the board and the CEO. How about, is there any focus on recruiting and training volunteers who actually go out and help us raise money by asking their friends? And to what extent are we managing a large trained volunteer corps? Because I can only see 5, 8, 10 people a week. If I have 5 volunteers who are going to see 1 person a week, that's a marked increase in contact. And will they do it next week? All right, what about your programs, your software management system? What is it able to tell you, and what kind of things are you asking of it? What kinds of data do you have access to already based on your own system? Or do you have to go talk to that IT person who's in a closet and somewhere buried in your institution? Or is that one of your employees that you manage in terms of part of their process is also data processing and gift acknowledgement? Do you track the number of donors? Do you track gift revenue and donors by each solicitation program you operate? And that very shortly is going to be available to you to do. What details do you report now in terms of results? How much money did you raise? That's in the monthly board report. Is there any detail as to which methods of fundraising? Is there any detail about numbers of donors, average gift size, any indication at all as to how it happened, and what are your strengths and weaknesses? Hey, we're celebrating, it's the end of December, we're celebrating, we made goal. Okay? You know, what did you do yourself that you know you can repeat and do more of next year? If you don't know, good luck. Do you recognize your donors for their cumulative gift history? Do you recognize your donors' loyalty? The $25, don't you hate this story? The $25 donor that we kept on the mailing list died 3 weeks ago and left us $1 million. And the reason we got that is we never took them off the mail list 35 years later. Sorry. But donor loyalty is real. Now, high donors are more loyal than low donors. Here's some hard data. At 250 and above, significant numbers, percentages of donors at 250 and above are more loyal, according to MarketSmart. Repeat donor retention is even higher at those levels. Now, who you want to love the most? Where do you want to spend your time? Look at all those nice people at $249 to $999 to 84% retention, 1,000 and above 87%. Don't just focus on the 5,000 and up. There's some beautiful people right there in the middle. We also examined last session where we are in terms of overall by gift size. The losses are spread evenly, pretty significantly across all levels. All right. Now, you had a very good exercise last year or this year and reported in February, March. What were the kinds of things that you were concerned about here in your chapter, working with your partner, the Nonprofit Alliance? 54% of you were unsure as to what was going to happen. Still wondering? 94% made no changes to their fundraising plans. How could we? We didn't know what was going to happen. And 74% reported there was no effect on their organization's operations. Let's take a look. I hope you do that study again. I believe you're organized to do it. Excellent. What else did you think? Well, some of you thought that potential for 2019 was to get a bigger hit now that people have done their taxes. Did that suggest things were going to be better, a bigger hit, or are you going to take it right in the shorts? Excuse me. 2019 is the year to watch, and I'm worried. Rightly so. Rightly so, it turns out. The current tax law has taken away important incentives for nonprofit giving. A prophecy come true. All right, what do we know now as to the first 3 quarters of 19? Donors represent 66% of those in 2018. 66% have given. Now, quarters are made up of 25% blocks, right? So in the 25% of time left, and here we are, it's the 13th, it's even Friday the 13th, and they're behind 33% in terms of numbers of donors participating. That's a minus 3.8% with not much time to go. Revenue, 62% of where we were in 2018, 38% behind in the sense of time left to complete that, minus 4.5%. Revenues even down further. Retention compared to, in terms of new donor acquisition, all of these are behind. New donor minus almost 7, newly retained donors 6, a little uptick in repeat, and a little uptick in recapture. So there was good efforts there, but not overwhelming numbers. And the other categories are kind of dragging it down. How about revenue? General donor revenue under $250, We're at 62% of where we were in 18, slight 0.4%. Mid-level donor revenue, that nice group in the middle, is behind in terms of 18. Looks like it's going to finish behind. But major donor revenue, 65%, a lot to go in the remaining 25% of time, but it's already -5. -5. So we're not going to be surprised after December closes and we get all this data to see that it continues. Loss of donors, loss of dollars. Where does your organization stand? All right, here's the big announcement, the big surprise. I'm not sure any of you have one of these machines. I've been looking for it for years. It's FASB, Financial Accounting Standards Board, the supreme authority in all things accounting. This is the exciting part of today's presentation. All right. FASB ASU 2016-14, effective December 15th, 2017, all nonprofits will be audited using a statement of functional expenses, and they show an example, Table 1. What does it mean? It means that fundraising in detail is going to be reported better than it is now, let's say in your 990. In your 990, page 1 shows how much did you raise, gifts, grants, and contributions, and then line 16A shows what was the actual budget. That's not the actual budget. As you look at the detail on page 10, what was the total expenses, program and service, management, administration and general, and fundraising costs. At the bottom of the fundraising cost is that number that appeared on page 1. But 20% of your actual budget is reflected in management in general. The auditors just plug that number in their software. Using this program, we're actually going to count actual expenses by fundraising solicitation method. By method. We have worked for years, and I've been involved with it for 40 years, trying to address and provide answers to the cost of fundraising with credible figures. And it's been not able to be done. So, this will also include your timesheet. I told you this was the fun part. Your timesheet, where you spend your time, that's going to be then an expense allocated by individual or separate fundraising methods. Okay? Who's going to do that? The accounting folks are going to do that. The accounting folks. Sam, speak up. I can't hear you. You're going to submit your own time, and they're going to allocate all of that, including benefits and those other categories, to your By the way, where did you spend your time? Solicitation method A, B, C, and D. All right? So, this is what Table 1 looks like. Now, at the far left are activities. I put in red. I put in just some categories as examples. This is not real. But I just put in some things to give us an indication. Okay, how much did activity A raise? $499,000. What were the expenses? $128,000. Net income, that's what we're looking for. Net income, $371,000. That's 12% of the total. Okay? For the first time, we're going to see the differences in terms of expense by method. By method. That's a beginning. What is the overall bottom line? 13.4% cost to raise $1. Okay. Now we have it in detail rather than the bottom line only, which told us nothing about how we actually accomplished it. Based on this, we get this one. Now, you see in blue the gift income, expenses, and then net income. But we have all of the data. How many solicitations did we make by each category? How many donors actually responded? That's the gift income. What were the expenses? The percent participation in each program. How many of those donors? 6.9% of them actually gave to the benefit event. Average gift size, 150. Net income, we saw that before. Cost per gift, $39. Fundraising cost ratio, return on investment. Now, how many of you would like to see this for your own organization, a display that would actually allow you to see what did we do and how did it perform, and then you're prepared to actually address, okay, next year, now that I know all of this, where am I going to invest the budget? Oh, by the way, Mr. CFO, I would like an additional $10,000 for my budget, and based on my data, I'm going to guarantee you a net income increase of $40,000. Deal? Now, a good CFO would say, you got any more of these good ideas that you can prove, you can demonstrate that you can actually raise more money, net income for a budget with just 10,000 more? Okay. It's all possible. Now, the Fundraising Effectiveness Program and the AFP Research Council have adopted and formally approved our jumping off the diving board without a parachute to tackle this. What we're going to do is focus on the net dollars. So over fundraising expenses overall are broken into the fundraising activity. This is the first time we're going to be able to count, track, and measure results by solicitation method, which we've wanted to do and know to understand. And like the Fundraising Fitness Test, we're going to have the new Fundraising Net Analyzer. Okay? It's going to be a display of all these data, perhaps like Table 1 and Table 10. Now, how does this work? The Development Office partnership with accounting. We're going to need to work together because we're focused on net dollars for program and services. The Development Office defines these are the things we want to measure. These are the programs. This is how my staff is organized. This is where I spend my time. This is what I want to monitor. I'm going to actually measure each benefit event separately. I want to keep track of each of them. I got a golf tournament, I got a gala, I got a walk run, I got whatever it is. I want to track each of those and see how they do. So I design the fundraising activity, and then it goes to the accounting office. We're going to apply this, all these accounting procedures that they've had in place for years and do for your own programs and services all the time. This is not new to them, but they've never had the breakout of where the fundraising team wants their accounting reports. So they're already doing this according to FASB, GAAP, IRS 990, the audit statement, etc. So we already know about the fitness test, and the Fundraising Net Analyzer is what's coming next. And we've got some samples to show you. On the AFP site, we have these documents that explain what this is all about. We encourage you to go to the site and begin, and bring your CFO or business officer with you. This is not something that's an option. FASB has determined that every nonprofit is going to begin to do this. Here's your chance to decide what you want to measure and not otherwise be told what somebody else is going to measure. All right? So, takeaways from today. Donor stewardship is a new high priority for all of us. Tracking your donor retention and all the details that's possible is important. It's time to take the fitness test so you know where you are, and we have all of this data as sort of a guideline that help you understand where you are relative to everybody else. And these benchmarks or guidelines are very helpful to explain where you are, and as you go forward with regards to the net revenue and other evaluations, you're actually going to have a very, very strong case for your own support from your organization, because you know exactly where the profit centers are and how your public responds to your various solicitations. So that's a lot to dump on you right before Christmas. And I'm not going to pretend it's a Christmas present. But it is where we are. And we're actually quite encouraged that we're going to have this opportunity to work with the business side of the house, the accounting side, and actually design for ourselves exactly how we're going to actually measure how we allocate the funds that we get and the results we get from them. Because we've never had that kind of detail before. We have lots of things from the fitness test that has to do with donors and dollars, but not costs. Not costs. All right. Any questions before we wrap up? Yes, ma'am. I think there's been tons of research with regard to just how do we address the tax law implications in our discussions with donors. There's been lots and lots of studies that suggested tax deduction isn't their prime motive. So let's talk about their prime motive. Let's engage them in the work, in the cause. That's what we share, is a belief in the value of the cause. That's why we're all there. You know, there's a lot that they can do, not necessarily because of they can deduct it from their income tax. And let's shower them with some donor recognition. You know, the make nice part, maybe we can do more, better, more of it and do it better so they feel really connected. You know, how often do we reach out and talk with them? How often do they come and see where we are and what we're doing? You know, just a lot of what is good donor stewardship is probably the best strategy, because we've never really told people, even though legally we always tell them your gifts are fully tax deductible under the law. It still is. You just have to qualify. Now, there's legislation to amend this. A universal deduction for all gifts, no matter whether you only have $40,000 of income and you're only giving away $200. It's deductible. Everybody gets to deduct gifts to charity. I don't have a high hope for that. The climate at present in Washington is not very positive. Until we get past all of this monkey business, we just have to wait till we can settle down and deal with the honest issues. Any other thoughts or questions? Yes. We've got the net analyzer designed. We don't have any data. In other words, organizations have to go through this. We're seeking pilot study organizations who are willing to, you know, it would be great if, for example, the Providence Healthcare system, the entire system could join up, just as one example. We're looking for large organizations and small so that we can begin to build a database. That's where we are. But thank you for that question. Yes, ma'am. What they're filing, yeah. TurboTax provides a methodology for you to do your own taxes. The actual form is called 1040EZ. They're actually filling out. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little hard for me to answer that. What people do think about when they're actually completing their taxes on their own online, as to whether they actually would calculate and put in the box what were their charitable contribution deductions and see what happened. They certainly can run the test. And if it comes back and it says, you know, you're going to pay more in tax money if you try to do that, I think we can guess what they're going to do. But I actually have never done my own taxes. online. All right. Well, I've worn them out altogether with a lot of data, a lot of numbers, a lot of things to think about. Thanks for the opportunity to share a lot of what we're doing and what we're trying to do to improve our capacity as fundraisers. Thank you. AFP South Sound in Tacoma has just secured Simone Joyot and Tom Ahern to come in May the 28th. I'm pleased to announce that AFP South Sound, based in Tacoma, has just secured speaking from Simone Joyot and Tom Ahern to come to our chapter, and each will present May 28th. Y'all come.
Jim and I agreed that I would follow up with him about some of the amazing programming that they're doing just up the way and be able to share that out with our constituency, or even perhaps bring some of those speakers down here since they're in our neck of the woods. So I'll be following up with you because I think that that's a wonderful opportunity.
Thank you. See you there.